And good afternoon. This is your friendly neighborhood Tironan coming in to review the KI 61. Yes, I finally got out of prison and got done with the KI 43 Stage 1 and Stage 2. And if I have any suggestion to make to World of Warplanes, please, for the love of your players, will you do us all a favor and just put in the single KI 43 and you can put your upgrade in there and then move on to something else. Making a player go through that twice is just cruel and unusual punishment. Okay, but we are into the KI 93, so we can forget the past and we can look at this aircraft, and it is a very, very different aircraft for the Japanese. A number of reasons for that. By this time of the war that this was being introduced, they were getting so many complaints from their pilots uh, that the KI-43, and to a lesser extent the Zero, were had some really serious deficiencies. But especially on the Japanese Army Air Force side, the KI-43 was known to be very light and very light armament, and in most ways, just it was a harken back to the days of World War One and that mode of close fighting aircraft just wasn't hacking it anymore. And so what they wanted was something heavier, something sturdier, something much faster, something better armored. Curiously, and this is just a historical perspective, the most precious asset in Japan was not its planes, but its pilots. Trained pilots for Japan were very scarce and got critically so very early in the war. By the end of 1943, most of their really good pilots were dead. And because the service selection was so severe and so selective, they were not coming anywhere close to replacing the men that died, let alone all the combat training that they got that was just lost. To make matters worse, they made almost no attempt to preserve the life of their pilots. If a Japanese carrier pilot went down at sea, more likely than not, he died. There was no armor for them during the early years of the war. There were no self-sealing fuel tanks for them early in the war. There wasn't even a concept of, there was no conception of just how valuable these men would be to their war effort. And that would continue throughout the war. By the end of the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, uh, it wasn't even a contest anymore. Their pilots were so inexperienced compared to their opponents that they just died in droves. The Ki-43 Hyene, I believe that's diving swallow in Japan, but I'm not absolutely certain, was a beast of a different color. And you'll notice one of the things here is no radial engine. They actually took a license built Daimler Benz 606 601 inline engine and installed that. And it was less of a success than it should have been for the reason that Japanese manufacturing at the time was very crude. It was exacerbated by the submarine campaign that was going on and the high variability of materials being shipped back to Japan for use. So one day you get high quality ore, next day you get poor quality ore. Sometimes you had aluminum from one source or from another source, so forth, so forth and so on. Um, and that made things a little more difficult for them. And that would continue throughout the war. The Japanese began to produce better and better engines. The engine on this one would go up to 1,500 horsepower, but They had a lot of problems keeping them in the field. That being said, it had self-sealing fuel tanks and armor. It was a better aircraft. It could dive with the Allied aircraft. It had decent guns on it. And Allied pilots began to notice immediately because it began to take rising casualties because this was a whole different kettle of fish than what they'd settled before. You want to get away from a Zero, you want to get away from a Hayabusa, that's easy. You just went to full speed, dove, and then turned. And the Japanese aircraft couldn't keep up with you. Their ailerons would freeze up. They would not uh, build up as much speed in the dive, and you were gone. You got out of the combat. You tried that with the Hind, and you very quickly found yourself with a fighter on your tail shooting 20 millimeter and 7.7 millimeter machine guns at you. The specifications, you're going to notice something very quickly if you compare this against the type, the Spitfire 5, is they're almost identical. In fact, if you put two extra machine guns on the KI-61, they would be identical. I mean, you're talking so close, it's not funny. Um, and in fact, warming up for this video, I got into a turning contest with a Spitfire 6 or Spitfire 5, I should say, and it was just what I expected. We couldn't outturn each other, and I thought, well, there you go. Firepower, Spitfire is a little better. The But that's about it. You can take a look here in high altitude performance. The Hind's a little better, but there's just not a whole lot of difference there, is there? I was kind of struck by that. So if you like the Spitfire 5, you're going to like this aircraft. They handle almost exactly the same. Let's go to battle. And hopefully I didn't just waste that entire introduction on terrible battle. Every once in a while you have an off game, or maybe you get an off team or something, and boy, you get your serving a humble pie in it very quickly. And I've had a few of those myself. All right, so I've got to admit that I love this plane. You'll want to fully upgrade it to get that good firepower out of it. The standard is going to come very close to the my beloved KI-43. And if you notice, I'm not being serious about that at all. No, as it comes, it's going to be somewhat lacking in firepower. You're going to want to upgrade that as quickly as you can. With the fully upgraded engine and everything, it's a wonderful aircraft. Really no complaints about it at all. And it hits the sweet spot for me. It very much feels like an aircraft that you can just play and play and play and play and play and really enjoy. It's very maneuverable. Anything you can say about the Spitfire, you can pretty much say about this aircraft. Alright, so we're back in the archipelago. They do need to get a few more maps up. I know it's a new game and all that, and it takes time to get it up and play test them and all, but gentlemen, 4 or 5 maps is not enough. Alright, we're going to run on over here, see if we can capture this airstrip. And you don't have to fear altitude with this aircraft. I just wish the boost was longer, both on it and on the Spitfire for that matter. And lighten up your opposition is not a particular trick. As you notice, the guns are very effective. Other fighters, Has no problem at all. Like everything else, it does take down heavy fighters much better than the previous aircraft. And as you may have noticed, the faster you can take down the uh, air defense fighters, the faster you get your airstrip and they stop shooting at you, which is a good thing. Now we've taken almost no casualties here. Now we want to secure this win by taking this cap point. At least I hope they do. And I see reds over there already. Not what I wanted to see. That P-47 is one tough aircraft. It's not going to outturn you, but do not underestimate it. I don't own one, but I started flown against them, getting an idea of its capabilities. You know, I just like AA, not for the fact that it does so much damage, but for the fact that it makes me always think there's somebody behind me. Finally gotten a good effect here. Fight him up, take him down, and let him know that he's not welcome here anymore. He needs to go away, go get another aircraft, find something else to do. Okay, that AM7 is bad news, but they look like they got him. Is that the same guy that I finally gave up on earlier? Wow, talk about persistent. All right, so we've got 3 cap points at this point. If we can hold on to all 3 caps, we're going to win the game. Whether we can do so or not, that's an open question. So, what do I like about the Hayabusa? Good maneuverability, good survivability, good aircraft uh, gunnery loadout. It's an all-rounder. It can do a little bit of everything. It's not the best high performer, but it is a very good maneuvering aircraft. Well, it's not going to be up to the turn and burn fighters. I think their day is going to get tougher and tougher to be in this game with. I think there's just too many aircraft that will rush up and shoot you and dive off. And if your aircraft is too slow, you've got no effective response. And I think eventually that's going to get to be intolerable. barely tolerable now, but that may be my personality more than it is anything important. So there is squad one. I guess we better get over here and see if we can help defend our base as they're trying to take it from us. And there is an ME410. I don't know if you run across these yet or not. They're very fast, very well armed. And the guys bringing back in the F190 is a multi-role fighter, and it's kind of the worst multi-role fighter I've run across yet. Short of the Brewster, maybe, and maybe not even then. It just does not do a good job. Um, its maneuverability is so low that they can literally not compete at all, not even close. It's not like the Corsair where you hope that you got things uh, right. All right, we came in number one. What a surprise. That's nice. We'll go back to the hangar. We can take a look at what we actually did. The numbers aren't that impressive. It's not like I shot down 14 aircraft or anything, but sometimes you don't need to. So you go to your summary, it was 550, 45,000. That's a nice chunk of change. Um, no, it's don't really understand that. I shot down 7 aircraft, so I didn't get partials on them. That's what did that. And captured a couple of zones. Yeah, I've done better, but I've done worse. But we got the victory, and that's all that matters. Good teamwork from the rest of my team, I'm assuming, is what led to this, because that's not enough to carry the game. By the way, you'll hear me talk about not being able to carry games. You can carry a game. All you have to do is kill about 24 aircraft. Yeah, 24 aircraft, and you will win because you will still have exhausted the other side, worn them out to a point where they can't recover. Proved that the other day, but we're about 5 days ago. But it's you got to be having one hell of a game, have one hell of an aircraft, and the other side's got to be pretty bad for that to happen. Um, I was testing out a flight for aircraft for a video, and got in amongst a bunch of real noobs, and obviously I came back later. That's just not right. I really did feel like I was seal clubbing. Okay, so this is a wonderful aircraft. It's a nice breath of fresh air and a worthy competitor in its tier. It is capable of taking on just about anything in the game and winning well. It's well designed. It's an aircraft that helps you, not hinders you. You're not trying to work your way around the limitations of the aircraft to get the job done. It's simply there for you. Want to do a quick turnaround, it's there for you. If you want to, you have to get up to high altitude, it's good enough to do it. If you want to put your guns on something, the guns are good enough to get it done. That's about as good as it gets, folks. I mean, it's BF 109F Spitfire 5 territory, and I've shot down P 51As. Those are my 4 favorite aircraft going right now. Love them all, and this just got added to the stable. Just love this aircraft, and I think you'll have a lot of success with it. So if you want to fly something different and get Spitfire 5 performance, uh, may I recommend the KI 61. Thanks. You have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.